Hello everybody, and welcome back to Cooking with Grandma. Today it's muffins. I'm going to make an assortment of muffins for you. The very first time I'm trying a savory muffin. I've never made savory. I've only made like blueberry or, fruit muffins or, raisin bran or oatmeal, peanut butter. So today I'm going to try some of those, but I'm also going to do bacon muffins. I'm going to see how this works out. So I've already pre-cooked my bacon. It says in the recipe to use the bacon grease. I'm just going to use the oil because it'd be basically the same thing. But I had leftover bacon from grilled cheese and bacon sandwiches we had the other night, and so I'm going to put that into good use. So what we're going to start with is mixing our dry ingredients into a bowl. So we need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And this, let me just see if it tells you how much it's supposed to. It doesn't say how many muffins you get out of this. So I'm assuming it doesn't, because most recipes give you ingredients for a dozen. So we're going to try it. So we need 2 cups of flour. There's half. And 1.5 and 2 cups of flour, and I forgot to use my Scoopy measuring cups that my daughter got me that actually fit in here. I'm not thinking about when I got my stuff out of them, I put them in a different spot. So I hung them up here so I could have them and be ready to use them, and then I forgot them. So now I'll get them out for my sugar. So to do 2 cups of flour, I need I don't even need them. I need a tablespoon of sugar for this recipe. They are savory muffins after all. We don't want a lot of sugar in them to make them sweet. So a tablespoon of sugar. It's just my oven beeping to say it's warm. And I need 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And 1 tablespoon, nice and leveled off, of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. This is going to be interesting. I love bacon and I love muffins, so I mean, and you can make these in a variation. You can make bacon onion muffins, and when the bacon is almost done, you add 1/2 cup of finely chopped onions and cook it with it, and then add it, and it gives you the different steps to do for that. I'm not going to add the onion because again my bacon's already cooked. So let's see. Mix flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, and pepper in a large bowl. So there we go. I'll incorporate it together. And then we're going to whisk the egg, milk, and bacon fat, but it's going to be oil because it does call for, it says vegetable oil as needed. So I'm not going to put very much in. So we're going to get another bowl. Whisk egg, milk, and bacon fat into a small bowl until egg is well broken up. Add the bacon and pour over the dry ingredients. Fold it in with the spatula until, okay, so I could probably just use a small bowl here. Okay, so I need the egg, 1 egg, milk and bacon fat. So milk, 1 cup of milk. Milk. Yeah, this bowl's plenty big enough. And then the bacon fat. So usually when you fry bacon, there's, depending on how fatty your bacon is, but there's like a tablespoon or so of fat in the bottom. So I'm just going to add a tablespoon of oil right now. If it's too dry of a mixture, I can always add a little bit more just to, kind of make it a little bit wet. So we're going to whisk that in. It says whisk it until the egg is well broken up. And I'm guessing they mean, you know, all whipped nicely. So there we go. And then we add the bacon to this and pour it over the dry ingredients. So I'm going to get my bacon under the little baggie. I'm going to chop it up. We need to chop it up in tiny pieces. It's some of it's broken up, but you know, it's fried, so it won't take a minute. I'm just gonna chop it up real careful here, real small. Get a better knife, maybe. That one's not quite sharp enough. There we go. Got a good knife here. This is Favorware. This is a very good, very sharp knife I got for a Christmas present. So there we go. We're just gonna, now we're talking. Now it's just chopping it up like it's nothing. This is a very good knife. It doesn't say how small. It just says 4 thick slices of bacon and then oil is needed, but it doesn't say how. It stack them in strips, cut them in 4 lengthwise, and cut them, okay, into 1/2 inch pieces. Okay. So it was in the this part of the recipe in the instructions. It's okay. We're just going to chop it up nice and 1/2 inch pieces. I mean, you want, like when you're tasting it, just like when you have a blueberry muffin, you want a nice chunk of blueberry, or, you know, banana muffins or something. You want the flavor there. If you chop it up too small, it's going to just kind of disintegrate as it bakes. So we'll leave in pretty good chunks here. So there we go. And we're going to put this into our egg mixture. It says to. There we go. That in the sink. And I'm just going to mix that in. And now it says to add it and pour over the dry ingredients. Fold in with the rubber spatula just until the dry ingredients are moistened, which is what you want to do with bacon, or sorry, with muffins. You never ever want to overmix your muffins because they'll come out dense, and when you break them in half, they'll have like holes in the middle and the center. So you just want to go very, very careful. You want to be very gentle. It's not like cupcake batter. You want it to be lumpy. There is always supposed to be, it's supposed to be thick, and it's supposed to be not smooth and creamy like a cupcake batter would be. So now this is on a little bit of a dry side as I'm mixing. I mean, it's starting to come together, so I'm going to just give it a couple more turns here, but I think I might have to add just a titch. No, maybe not. I was going to add a little titch more of oil, but no, just a little patience. And it came together very well. It is a very, very thick batter, but that's okay. We'll just go ahead and you scoop batter into the muffin pans, bake 15 to 20 minutes or until golden brown and springy. Okay, so all my ingredients are moistened. I'm going to stop mixing because you can overmix so quickly. I'm going to take 2 big spoons and just scoop it out. And I did line my muffin pans with the cupcake liners, just to, you know, it comes out a lot quicker and easier. You don't have to spray them, and you know, it's keeps your pans clean, right? You just take the cupcake papers out and you're good to go. So we want to fill them about 2/3 full, just like we do with any muffin. Give them a chance to rise. You don't want to fill them right all the way to the top. If you do that, then they rise, and then you got the great big, what they call the muffin top, you know, the one, it just comes up and over and it's huge, and your muffin down the bottom of the cup is a little tiny thing, and you got the great big top. So we're just going to do just like this. And I think this might make more than a dozen. It looks like it might. Let's see. I'll probably make 1.5 dozens by the way it looks. It's very dry, so it's a little bit, you got to kind of push it right into the cups and get it even in there. A bit more. And while these are in the oven, we'll start on our next recipe. I've got a few that I want to make, a few in mind. Okay, so there's a dozen. So it looks like we're going to get, muffin tins come out. Looks like we're going to get a dozen and a half. We're going to stretch it into a dozen and a half, even if I have to make them a little bit small. It's okay. Well, maybe not. Maybe I won't stretch it. We're going to get a dozen and 4 muffins because they're all pretty equal. There's a couple of them that are a little bit on the small side. So I'm just going to steal a little bit of batter out of a couple of these over here that are more full and add so they're pretty much all even. Because you do want that we're going to change up the baking time if you have some that are smaller. You'll have some getting done, and if you don't remember that you've made some a bit smaller, then there's a risk that you're going to burn those while the other ones are making. I will. Now another tip for you is because this holds 6 muffins and I have 2 empty spaces right here. Here's a trick. What you take in that when you're baking them, you take a little bit of water, just a titch, just to cover the bottom, and you put, before you put them in the oven, then you don't have 2 empty spots that can burn. That can, burn your pan. So now we're going to put these in, set the timer for 15 minutes, and we'll see what bacon muffins are like. Okay, timer, 15 minutes. Okay, so while they're baking, we will start with one of our savory, our sweet muffins. So I'm going to be making, now I'm going to make raisin bran muffins, but most of the recipes for raisin bran muffins are always bran flour and, wheat flour, whole wheat flour and that kind of thing. I found is if I just take your basic muffin recipe and instead of the bran flour, what I do is I use raisin bran cereal. Then you get bran sort of flour, but you get the bran and you get raisins, and you don't have to add extras, so you don't have to buy 2 extra ingredients. So that's what we're going to do here. Now with this one, it's the blueberry muffin recipe, but it's like your basic recipe. Then instead of the blueberries, I'm going to use a raisin bran and that kind of thing. So that's just what you need as a basic, your plain muffin recipe. Then you can add whatever you want to it. So we're going to beat the butter until it's creamy, and then beat in the sugar and the eggs. So we need 1/2 cup of butter. 1/2 cup. Now I use margarine and it's already soft, so I will stir it a little, but you don't really need to go, it's not going to need to be whipped up like if you were using a stick of butter. And again, if you have butter and that's what you want to bake with, go right ahead. It's not going to hurt. Most recipes call for butter versus margarine. The taste to me is the same. I've been baking for, I don't even want to tell you how many years, and I've never had a complaint, and I've only used butter maybe once or twice because it was on sale, and I thought, oh, let me see if this makes a difference. It doesn't. And to that, we're going to add sugar. So what I want to do is just give this a little stir. Make sure it's all soft, which it already is because it's your tub margarine, so, nice and creamy. So we're going to put a cup of sugar in to that. All the way. Oh, no. There we go. And okay, a cup of sugar, and we mix this up. Muffins are a little trickier to get the batter right than cupcakes because, again, you don't want to beat any of your ingredients. But if I was making cupcakes right now, I would just throw everything in and mix it. With muffins, you have to do more steps. You have to kind of be careful with it. Then that sugar and the butter is all nice. So beat in the eggs one at a time, then the vanilla, baking powder, and salt. So it's 2 eggs, one at a time, get it good and mixed up. I mean, seriously, this takes like, prep time on muffins is like 3 minutes. Throw the ingredients in, stir it up, mix it together, put it in a pan, boom, you're done. Maybe 5 or 6 minutes, you know. It's not long. It doesn't take. This is one of the quick and easy, you know, if you want to give the kids a snack after supper or at lunch after lunchtime, or like in the afternoon when they're done their online school learning, that kind of thing. And you can make them healthier. You know, this kind of muffins, they have sugar in them, but it's distributed through like 2 dozen or a dozen and a half, whatever. And it's, you know, not as unhealthy, and it doesn't have any of the preservatives and the additives like when you buy muffins at the store. They just are healthier that way. So now we have to beat in the vanilla, baking powder, and salt. So vanilla, we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. 1 teaspoon. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. My teaspoon. 1 teaspoon. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I usually take my spoons apart when I have everything out ready to bake. They're hooked on with a little ring that you can just hang them up with, or they just keep them nicer in the drawer. But today I didn't. I'm just kind of going through them and picking the one size I need. Okay, so we're going to mix this in. Baking doesn't have to be a chore. It, you know, make it fun. It gives, like, everybody's in lockdown, so go ahead and bake, and then you have fresh baked goods for your family. You don't have to worry about, should I go to the store and get a snack for the kids, or, oh geez, I really feel like something a little bit sweet but not overly sweet. You know, just bake. It's fun, and it's easy. If you stock your pantry, then it's, you know, it's easy. So now for this, it says fold into half the flour with the spatula, then half the milk. So half of our flour, it is 2 cups of flour. I'm going to use 1 cup of flour because I'm going to use 1 cup of the bran cereal, raisin bran cereal. So that's where, instead of bran flour, I'm going to use raisin bran cereal. And this really works if you've got some kind of stale cereal at home, because you know, you buy a box, you think you want it, yeah, you know, and you never finish it. Because it's going to bake, so it's not going to taste stale. I gotta give it a little bit of a shake because I find that a lot of the raisins are on the bottom of the box. Even if you're just having a bowl of raisin bran cereal for breakfast, I find that if you give it a little bit of a shake, then you tend to get more raisins in there. Made a big mess with that, didn't I? Spilled that all over my book. Okay, and a couple of raisin bran goes in. A little bit that spilled, there we go. So, let's see. Half the flour, okay, I did that wrong. I was supposed to put half of that, stir it in, then half the milk and stir it in. Kind of goofed. That happens, you know, actually, mistakes happen, but you know what, just gently stir it and get it all mixed in, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my milk. If it's too thin or watery, I'll just add a titch more flour or cereal or both, because that was my mistake. I was supposed to add half the dry, then mix it with the milk, and then half the dry again and with the milk. So, I've mistaken it by that before, and it won't hurt anything. Okay, so now it calls for 1/2 of a cup of milk. I'm just going to go ahead and pour it all in because, you know, it's supposed to be half at a time, but you know, that's alright. Just gently, gently stir it. Just mix it in. You may have to add a little bit more dry ingredients because this is very, very watery, and you don't want watery batter for muffins. You want it sort of thick. Not as thick as the bacon muffins were, but you want it way thicker than this. Yeah, that's okay. That happens, not a big deal. So I'm going to add just like a half of a cup or so of flour. Start off with a third of a cup. And I'm going to add a little bit more of the cereal. This way it looks like I'm doing it half and half, right? There we go. A little bit more of the Raisin Bran cereal. I can see those big chunks of raisins going in there. It's awesome. It's going to be really good. That's much better. So that's what happens when it's very easy to correct that mistake. You just add a little bit more. If it's too thick and not mixing, you added just a touch, like start with like a quarter of a cup of milk or oil or water, whatever you were adding. And if it's too runny and too thin, then you just add a small amount of flour and whatever other ingredients, like in this case the Raisin Bran, because mistakes can be fixed. It's easy. Okay, so I'm going to, again, I line my cupcake pan with the liners, so it's easier, it's less cleanup. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just use 2 spoons. I always use 2 because what I do is scoop it out with one and then push it into the muffin cups with another. And if you spill any along the way, then you think, oh, okay, clean it up, not a big deal. Gotta have fun in the kitchen. You can't make it, you don't want to stress over a mistake that can be fixed. I mean, I've made things where I'm thinking, oh, yeah, no, that's not gonna work. And I have turned around and thrown it right in the garbage. I've made pie crusts that were like, wouldn't roll out properly. They were too dry, too yucky. When I make pierogies, I've made the batter and the dough rather and then it doesn't want to shape, it doesn't want to roll. I think, yeah, okay, that happens. You just chuck it out and start over and get on with it. You don't have to stress over it, making a big deal out of it. Mistakes will happen, and especially if you're just learning to cook, you're gonna make mistakes. It's a given. You can follow a recipe to the T, and once in a while things go wrong. You bake it a little too less, or you bake it a little too long, or the one time I thought, what did I do wrong? I was making something and I was tasting it, like, I don't know what I did wrong, and then they were cookies, and I thought, oh, okay, what I did wrong was I forgot to add the sugar, and they had absolutely no flavor. So that was, that happens, that's a mistake, and you just correct it and you go on, no big deal. Okay, so my bacon muffins are 2 minutes away from being done. So we're just going to set these guys aside for a minute. Now these will bake for about 25 minutes, 20-25 minutes. So what I want to do now is, let me see, I think I will make some blueberry muffins. So I'm just going to wipe this bowl out. This just had the batter from the bacon muffins. So I'm just going to give it a wipe with a paper towel. Just get all the extra stuff off of there, and then I'm just going to use this bowl instead of dirtying another bowl. As long as everything's cleaned out of it, there's no traces of any other bacon or any other ingredients, it's going to be okay. So for blueberry muffins, it's kind of like what we just did for the Raisin Bran muffins, but this is actually the blueberry muffin recipe. So again, it is a half a cup of butter. It's all the same ingredients, except instead of Raisin Bran, we're going to use blueberries. And I have frozen blueberries because, it's February, almost February, it's end of January. You can't really get good blueberries in the store right now. And if you do get blueberries, they're super expensive. So I have a bag of frozen blueberries that will work just fine. I don't normally buy bagged frozen fruit, but it's okay for this. I mean, you can use them for so many things. You can make blueberry pancakes, blueberry muffins, donuts. Hey, there's a thought. Maybe I'll make some blueberry donuts later. Yeah. And we need 1 cup of sugar. Measuring cup here. 1 cup of sugar. So leave a comment below on what you think of any of my recipes, or if you'd like me to try certain recipes. I've got a very, very large cookbook collection, and if I can't find it what you would like me to make, you know, the internet's out there. You can find anything on the internet. What my favorite place to go to when I'm looking for a recipe is allrecipes.com. They have like gazillion recipes on anything you want to make. Like, they have everything. Oh, let me get it. Hang on a second. I'm going to take my bacon muffins out of the oven and see if they're done. Okay. It says so they spring up, and the bacon really rose to the top. I'm just going to move this bowl for a second and show you that is what you can see, the chips of bacon. And you see, you push it down and it comes right back up. That's what you want. You want it to spring up. That's what a cupcake will do, a cake and a cupcake. Oh, didn't shut the timer off. So they are done perfectly. And they all come out. I like the way the bacon popped up. So I'm going to set these aside to cool. They have to cool in the pan for a little bit. And then you take them out of and put them on a cooling rack. It says to leave them in the pan for 10 minutes. So I'm going to put the raisin bran muffins in the oven while we're finishing up our blueberry muffins. Set the timer for 20 minutes. It says 25, so I'll go ahead and start them at 25 and see what happens. Okay, so we've got our sugar and butter in here for our blueberry muffins. Now we need the eggs, 1 egg at a time. Okay, so like I said, you know, leave me a comment below and tell me what you think of my recipes. If you've tried any of them, please try them and let me know how it worked out for you. And if there's anything that you wanted to try but you were a bit leery of trying and you want to see how it's done, then by all means leave that in the comments, and I will do my best to make anything anybody asks. I can just get, if I need any extra ingredients, we go out shopping like once a week and I can get the ingredients I need. So now I need the 1 teaspoon of vanilla. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Mix that in. Actually, I planned on, I should have done only half a batch because I wanted to make one more kind, but that's okay. We'll have lots of muffins to share with my kids. Okay, my son and his girlfriend, I can send some baked home goods with him. My daughter and daughter-in-law live upstairs. They can have baked goods. My little grandsons in Mississauga want me to mail them some, so maybe I'll make a little care package and mail it out to them. So now at this point, this is a little bit different. Because now we're going to mix in the berries into the batter. A lot of recipes, when you're using fruit or whatever, it tells you to do that after you mix your fruit in. After you've got everything mixed in, then you gently stir it in. But this recipe calls for putting the fruit in now. So I need 2½ cups of blueberries. So I'm going to use. And they're still a little bit frozen. I mean, I took them out of the freezer a little bit ago, but it doesn't matter because they're going to thaw out when they're cooking. So 2 1/2. These are nice looking blueberries. They're all like kind of nicely the same size, so that makes it good. Okay, so I'm going to stir those in just gently. Look at how pretty that is. It makes it all nice and purple. Makes everything all purple inside. Bacon can be fun. It can be pretty. It's easy-ish, depending on what you're making, but most of the time it's pretty easy. Just practice, that's all. So now I'm going to do it the right way this time. I'm going to add half the dry ingredients and then half the milk and do it the right way. So I need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, so I'm going to put 1 cup of all-purpose flour in. And because I used that measuring cup for berries, I'm going to have to use my other measuring cup. Okay, so I've got 1 cup of flour, and it is half a cup of milk. So what I'm going to do is mix in the 1 cup of flour, just gently. You just want to stir it in gently. You don't want to break up all the blueberries, but you don't want to over mix your batter either. And it doesn't have to be completely mixed in, because you're going to add the milk and then some more flour. So you don't have to mix it all the way all at once, because that over mixes it well. So now I need 1/2 of a cup, I believe, 1/2 a cup of milk. Half a cup, there we are. And so I'm going to put half of this in. I'm going to measure it all, but I'm only going to put half of it in. There we go. And then mix this. You always want to end up, I think I've mentioned this in my other videos, you always want to end up on your wet. Whenever it says to alternate wet and dry, you always want to finish with wet. I don't know why that is, but that's just the way I've always been taught. So that's all nice and measured in, mixed in. Now we'll put the 2nd cup of flour in there. It is very purple, very purple. Whoa. I do have a video, if you're a regular viewer of mine, I do have one that I have made, my version of the fruit explosion muffins that you get at Tim Hortons. The only difference with mine is that I use actual chunks of fruit, just adding the last cup, a little bit of milk. And theirs is like almost like a jam when you bite into them and break them open, but I use like bananas and blueberries and strawberries and raspberries whenever in the summer, whenever there's like an abundance of berries, and you know, they're kind of getting to the point, well, okay, we got to use up these berries, so just mix them all in, because it'll all go. Look at how pretty that is. Look at the color. Isn't that gorgeous? So now what we're going to do is put these in the muffin tins. I'm going to fill them up with I'm going to get my papers. I have to get some more though. There we are. A lot of times I don't use muffin papers for muffins. I just like grease the, this isn't enough. Okay, 1 second, I'll get some more. I don't use the muffin papers. I usually, baking cups, I usually just grease or spray the cupcake pans, but this is so much easier and quicker, and they're, you know, you can get like 100 of them at the dollar store for $1.50. So let's see, these were the Dollarama for $1.25, and there's 80 big ones. So there you go. That's, you know, if you're making only a dozen at a time, it's going to take a while before you run out of 80. They do stick together though sometimes. I've done it where I've baked and you take a muffin out and the paper, and then one paper is still left in the pan because you've doubled it. Which it happens, is not a big deal. I just go ahead and separate them as best I can. Sometimes they want to be stubborn, like right now. This does not want to come apart or anything. There we go. Finally, there we are. And we're just going to go ahead and scoop these into. The muffin containers just like we did before. There we go. Nice big. These you can fill a little bit fuller. I usually go almost to the top because they will go up from the baking powder, but I find that they don't go so over that, you know, you've got a great, and then if you have, some people like just muffin tops. You know, I mean, there's places that actually sell muffin tops. They just, I don't know what they do with the ends of it. They just start it, which is kind of a waste. But, you know, some people like the muffin tops. I don't know. But we're going to fill these all the way up, pretty much all the way. And if you can see, it's kind of a thick batter. It's pretty thick. So it's not real runny. It's not going to spill all over the place when you're filling them up. Now this will get me a little more than a dozen. Well, maybe not. No, maybe not. It'll get me, no. There's not enough left. I mean, unless I took some out, I could take some out and make them a bit smaller. And then I could get like 5 or 6 more, 4 more maybe. So I'm just going to go ahead and top these off. There's a couple that aren't quite as filled as others, so I'm just going to make sure that they all have pretty much the same amount in, so that way they do all cook evenly. Yeah, we're going to get a dozen big muffins. You can make them smaller if you've got. I've done it before with when my kids were little. I used to fill them like half full, and because, you know, when they're 2 and 3 years old, they can't eat a great big muffin, and then it's kind of a waste. So, you know, we don't want that to happen. So now we've got the raisin bran muffins are in the oven. The bacon muffins are done. I'm just going to take it off the paper and just show you how nice and golden brown and light. And when you break it open, no holes, no big gaps. That's what you want. A nice even muffin cooked. You can put some butter on that. And there you go. Bacon. This is the first time I've had this, so we're going to try that later. I've never tried a bacon muffin before. So that is it for today. I did have a couple more in mind, but I think I'm going to stop for today, and I'll make the other kind in another video. So, muffins, muffins, muffins. Bacon muffins, blueberry muffins, and raisin bran muffins. So try them, enjoy them, let me know what you think, leave me a comment, subscribe if you haven't, and please hit that like button. We could really use a bunch of likes and have the views. So I hope everybody is home staying safe. Bake while you're at home, you know, it'll give you something to do, and keep your family nice and healthy and fed. So everybody take care, have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.